Imagine waking up in one of the greatest cities in America, and then to feel the earth moving under you. At 5:12 in the morning, April 18th, 1906, San Francisco was hit by a huge earthquake. For the space of a minute or less, the city was rocked. Buildings fell on people, streets cloven end into wounds, rail track twisted in all directions, and thousands of lives were turned upside down. Yet the quake itself was just the beginning. Throughout San Francisco, gas lines ruptured, water mains break, structures were destroyed, and then crowed the city with fires. Initially, people thought the worst was behind them. They were wrong. The fires began spreading through the ravaged city. Wooden buildings became the fuel, smoke blacked the streets, and the city's shattered water system made the flames almost impossible to fight. In a few hours, much of San Francisco was ablaze. Downtown was turning into a hellhole. People poured out of smoke and rubble-choked streets. Families hunted for each other. Shops were deserted, and tens of thousands of people, as they moved across the countryside, San Francisco's emergency infrastructure was crumbling. Telephone and telegraph lines were cut. Water pressure was dangerously low, and battalions of firemen battled walls of heat they dared not breach. The destruction was racing ahead of the city's ability to catch up. Then, the military came in. U.S. Army soldiers from the Presidio and other nearby posts swarmed into the city. To fight fires was not their primary purpose. They had to maintain order, distribute food, provide water, establish communications, and aid thousands of displaced residents. But it was desperate. Boats from two sideshows were surrounded by crowds at the water's edge. People took with them what they could. Others were just walking the streets, looking for a place to hide. Then followed one of the most disputed acts of the disaster. Military officials started blowing up buildings in the city. The idea was to make fire breaks, clearing buildings as a precaution, ahead of the overripening fires. But the tactic was extremely perilous. Buildings already alight had to be entered. We had to walk up and down streets, running with sparks and smoke too close for comfort with our explosives. Plus, every explosion ran the risk of worsening the destruction. But the fires persisted. Day was night. The night turned into another day. For nearly 3 days, San Francisco burned. At the end, the fire swept more than 500,000 blocks in the city. Whole districts vanished. Houses, shops, hotels, warehouses, all was leveled by fire. Half of the city's approximately 400,000 residents were driven from their homes. Thousands more queued in temporary camps and makeshift homes. And yet, the city was not entirely crumbling. Something unexpected was breaking out itself febrile, and strange as that was beginning to emerge. People had got themselves organized now. There were soldiers talking for supplies. Soldiers were handing out supplies in town. Telegraph operators were reconstructing lines. Doctors were attending the wounded, and regular people were helping strangers live. The disaster was obliterating San Francisco. But it was also when the fires at last were out, San Francisco had changed altogether. Thousands of buildings dropped. Whole streets were buried under ash and rubble, and hundreds of thousands had been on the move. But the city was still alive. The Israelis set up the military-run camps. Food and water were meted out. Temporary medical stations were established, and technicians started restoring telephone lines. There were some refugees in tents. Others subsequently left their tents for small quake cottages constructed as emergency quarters. Thousands upon thousands of those simple shelters went up after. But the disaster raised a far bigger question. What if all San Francisco did was rebuild what was there before? Or should the city then become something else entirely? The answer was reconstruction. Buildings were redesigned. Infrastructure was improved. Emergency preparedness became more critical. And 1906 shaped the way we think about disaster relief and civil defense. San Francisco would not be obliterated, for longer, at least. The rubble was cleared away. Businesses reopened. Homes were rebuilt. And the city began looking ahead. Strikingly, only 9 years later, San Francisco was the site of the Panama Pacific International Exposition. It was more than a World's Fair. It was a mensaje. The city had survived. San Francisco wanted the world to know that it had rebuilt itself. Today, the ground upon which modern San Francisco sits. The streets are different, the buildings are different, but beneath the modern city, the memory of 1906 remains. #humanized output. More than a century has elapsed since the earth shook, but the catastrophe continues to define how San Francisco braces for the next big one. For the lesson of 1906 was not just that cities can be destroyed, it was that they can also rise again. On one morning, a quake transformed San Francisco, but it did not finish the city. It doubled the city, to rebuild, to adapt, and ultimately, to become something new.